Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Eugene Chan, and our guest this evening is Wilson Kwong, the Chief Executive of Hong Kong Air Cargo Terminals Limited, HACTO, the operator of one of the most modern and the biggest air cargo terminals in the world. Prior to Wilson's appointment 7 years ago, Mr. Kwong has held various leadership roles within the Jardine Matheson Group, including being the CEO of Jardine Engineering Corporation and CEO of Raffles Key Asset Management in Singapore. Wilson is also active in industry leadership, serving as the chairman of the Employers Federation of Hong Kong and holding key roles in various logistics and commerce committees. Welcome, Wilson, to the show.
Thank you for inviting me, Eugene. Thank you.
I think we all know that Hong Kong Airport is one of the world's busiest passenger airports, but many will be surprised that after the show today, that we know that Hong Kong is also one of the world's busiest air cargo hub. And HACTO, the company that you work for, is the oldest and largest independent cargo handler at this airport hub of Hong Kong. So the reason why we invited you is, as a CEO, is to let our viewers know how Hong Kong can benefit from being the world's busiest air cargo hub. So maybe to start off with, what is actually an air cargo terminal as compared to the passenger terminal that we always use when we travel?
Thank you, Eugene, and a great question. I think many of our viewers would have no doubt been through a passenger terminal. Of course, as a passenger, we go through a check-in process for departure at least, the immigration, and then of course we wait for the aircraft, then we board the aircraft, and hence the story goes. Actually, a very similar story goes for cargo as well. A cargo has to be accepted before it can be, before it can be accepted for flying. It has to wait for a certain time for the aircraft. It has to be towed to an aircraft, and then it will be loaded to an aircraft. The only difference is the cargo itself cannot move by themselves. And this is what we as an air cargo terminal does, help the seamless travel of the cargo from the point of acceptance all the way to the aircraft and vice versa for an import process.
Wilson, thank you for a very detailed description of actually what happens. But what exactly is cargo? I'm sure the viewers will be saying, when we travel, we have our luggages and we do carry some extra luggage, sometimes that when you pay for extra weight for that. What else is classified as cargo?
Well, I think that's a very spot-on question, because apart from the passengers, apart from their baggage, and apart from mail, as in the air mail, all the other items which goes on the aircraft would mostly be cargo. Mm-hmm. Many of these items would be called general cargo, so items which we ship with a view to be transported by air. It could be anything. Things that we wear, phones that we use, the daily livelihood. The beauty about air cargo is that people often don't see it, but people would have no doubt been using items which has been air freighted.
As I said earlier, HACTO has been part of Hong Kong air cargo storage since 1971. Mm. So how has this part of Hong Kong evolved in the last 5 decades?
I can go on forever. Mm-hmm. Hong Kong has always been a trading hub, okay? And I think we have seen it in the growth of Hong Kong, and HACTO has been so proud and honored to have witnessed this growth since we established in 1971 and since we operated since 1976. In the days of Kai Tak Airport, we have seen the phenomenal growth of air cargo along with the passenger side. And since the move to Chek Lap Kok in 1998, the growth has very much continued. Of course, during the past 5 decades, things have changed. The trade mix have changed, the trade lanes have changed. But what hasn't changed, Eugene, is the commitment of the people working in Hong Kong, not just in Hong Kong International Airport, and not just in our very trade facilitating the government, but everyone in Hong Kong, and so determined to ensure that Hong Kong retains as the busiest cargo hub for the world.
Right. I mean, you know, Hong Kong has been faced with many challenges, and I personally am very happy to know that Hong Kong is still the number one or the most busiest air cargo hub. When you, with what you have just, I mean, explained to us, I kind of understand air cargo is kind of like sort of signaling international trade. So, with Hong Kong being the most busy air cargo hub, how is all that going to benefit Hong Kong's economy as, I mean, in general?
Okay. Well, I think let's look at some statistics. If one look at trading and logistics, it is an industry which accounts for almost 1/4 of Hong Kong's GDP. This industry alone, the trading and logistics, employs 1/6 of the working population in Hong Kong. So however you look at it, and of course air cargo is part of it, we contribute significantly towards Hong Kong's development.
Can you share some examples of industries in Hong Kong that will be sort of particularly thrive because of this status?
Oh, there are many. Because for air cargo, it is not just, you know, the carriers which help transport the cargo from A to B. The industry is very wide, is segmented, and involve many different stakeholders. For example, there are, of course, the airlines, which we talked about. There are the freight forwarders, which help direct the freight, you know, depending on which mode they travel. There are the agents, there are the truckers. We touch on many aspects. But above all, Eugene, I think the air cargo industry does best is it helps ships, you know, items that are valuable, that are, you know, time sensitive, and in many cases critical for the well-being of, you know, not just Hong Kong, but for the world. I'll give you one particular example. During COVID, which, you know, it was a few years ago, but during COVID, one of the things which the air cargo industry did, not just in Hong Kong, but worldwide, was the shipment of critical items. What do I mean by that? Vaccines, ventilators to start off with, the PPEs that we talked about, and then people started work from home. We have the work from home appliances. There are so many items that air cargo played such an important role to facilitate. At Hector, we always say that our mission, our role, is to keep the air cargo supply chain going. And we do that not just for Hector and not just for Hong Kong, but for the world. Hence, your question is absolutely valid. Hong Kong has many things to be proud of, and being the busiest cargo airport is one of them.
Hong Kong is often called a superconnector. As you were explaining to me, I'm just trying to think Hong Kong would be a very good place to link up mainland, even the GBA, with the rest of the world. Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely, yes. I think if you look at the profile of the goods traveling from Hong Kong, you will see that one, majority items are for export, i.e. items that are manufactured in motherland, and increasingly from GBA, because we can talk about e-commerce later. They get transported to Hong Kong, get consolidated in Hong Kong, and then they get exported out to the rest of the world. Just that alone already helped being a super connector role. But it isn't just that. The physical movement is just part of it. There is, of course, the trade facilitation, there is the financing, which can be done as well. So I think air cargo is more than just the actual shipment itself. It benefits the others. But going back to your point about the superconnector, yes, of course, from GBA to Hong Kong and then to the rest of the world. But the reverse is also true. Right. So items can be imported into Hong Kong and then be subsequently re-exported back to the GBA. And that's a role which we have been playing. And increasingly, I see more and more opportunities as the wealth thrive in GBA and hence demanding more import into the GBA.
Right, so it sounds like Hong Kong will have a very important role in facilitating this exchanges of goods and actually businesses.
Absolutely.
I just also read that you have you sort of handle 3.5 million tons of cargo annually, and then you have what we call a super terminal 1, which is the world's largest multi-level air cargo terminal. And also, I want to congratulate you because I've been doing a bit of homework. Hector been winning the supply chain Innovator of the Year and also Air Cargo Terminal Operator of the Year. Do you think all these prizes reflect Hong Kong's unique location or ability, or is it our overall advantages? I mean, getting a prize is not easy. I'm just wondering, what does that imply?
Absolutely, thank you for that question, and I'm truly humbled, to get all these accreditations, which is mainly for the team. Hong Kong has many advantages and unique advantages. One of them, of course, is our geographic location. Now, if you look at many statistics, we will see that actually half of the world's population is within 5 hours of air travel from Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong has a very, very good geographic location. But more than that, Eugene, we have got an excellent connectivity. And before COVID, the Hong Kong International Airport was serving 220 destinations from Hong Kong. Now, of course, after COVID, there has to be a phase of recovery, and recovery is taking place rapidly, as we know. So that's two of the physical location advantages. But Hong Kong has more than that. One thing I must highlight is the very trade facilitating government and regulatory framework.
Okay.
Of course, we have the rule of law. We have the common law, which definitely help, as it gives a sense of certainty when it comes to dealing with businesses. Okay. But we also have a free port. We have a very trade facilitating customs regime and a very efficient, one of the best, if not the best, Customs and Excise Department. And of course, all the other government departments and bureau who are very committed in keeping that advantage.
Right. Wilson, yeah, let's take a short break now. But viewers, stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Wilson Kwong, CEO of Hong Kong Air Cargo Terminals Limited, or HACTO, has been sharing with us how being the world's busiest air cargo hub benefits Hong Kong's economy and our businesses. So Wilson, in the first half, you have explained to us, actually in very good terms, simple terms, that we know how Hong Kong is, why we're so important. Just going back to the niche of Hong Kong, or being the busiest air cargo hub, and also accounting for nearly 1/4 of the GDP. It's a very important area of Hong Kong's economy. You mentioned about the connectivity, the location, the framework, the rule of law. However, we have been kind of behind it by the last few years of COVID, and we've been catching up. How much do we have to catch up, and how much have we lost to other competitors? The reason why we say that is straight talk. We always talk about like Singapore, recent GBA. So how about in this area? How disadvantaged have we been by this COVID?
It's an interesting question, because during COVID, actually, thanks to the entire airport community and of course the entire logistics community, our air cargo volume actually rose in 2021. It dropped in 2022 and 2023, but for the first 11 months of 2024, the entire Hong Kong International Airport handled 4.5 million tons of cargo, and that's an improvement of 14.8% compared to last year. Now, of course, the December numbers isn't released yet, but 2024 will see a growth. But going back to your question about how is our competitive edge, whether we are retaining it or whether we are losing, I must say Hong Kong still has an edge. But as with always, one cannot be complacent. One always has to look internally to see how we can do better, so that we can accommodate the changing trade mix and the changing trade lanes, and in order to ensure that we continue to give the reliability that shippers, that agents, that freight forwarders, and of course the airlines required to make sure that they always put Hong Kong as the hub of the choice.
Wilson, thank you for explaining that to us. One area that I'm sure many viewers will start to ask us is about the GBA. We all said GBA is our central sort of the direction for Hong Kong's future. But in recent months, we know that because of the opening of the borders, a lot of Hong Kong's residents are going up to spend, and the Hong Kong retail and the F&B are sort of having a temporary setback. But with GBA developing at such a great speed, how are they, sorry to ask a direct question, are they going to be a friendly competitor, or are we losing businesses to them because they also have to develop? So how can we maintain the niche? Sorry for a direct question.
No problem at all, Eugene, and thank you for that question. If you look around the Greater Bay Area, there are 5 airports around the vicinity. Two of them are Shenzhen and Guangzhou. Both have international airport, and both have a growing cargo volume. And of course, there is Macau on the western side and Zhuhai. Okay? Now, that's putting aside the new ones. I must say, I think with the closer GBA integration, it presents us with competition, friendly competition, I must say, but also more opportunities. What do I mean by that? Of course, as Shenzhen and as Guangzhou further develops, you will see more and more international airlines flying international routes from those airports. And in fact, we are seeing increasing cargo volume through these airports. But so is Hong Kong. Just like what I mentioned earlier, for the first 11 months, our Hong Kong International Airport tonnage has been up by 14.8%. Right. But we are not resting on our laurels. We're not, being complacent. In Hong Kong, and thanks to the Airport Authority of Hong Kong, we have already established an operations in Dongguan. What that does is that now the cargo can be tendered for acceptance at Dongguan, and through a barge which directly connects the Dongguan port to Hong Kong, and they can be transported directly into the airside of Hong Kong. It can be towed directly to the aircraft. Hence, what we are actually trying to do as a community, or as the Airport Authority is doing right now, is to enlarge its catchment area as well, better serving the customers within GBA. That's for export. For import, the vice versa is also true. But ultimately, for the Greater Bay Area, as the wealth effect continues to prosper and to improve, there will be more and more demand for air cargo because there will be more and more shipments. We are all buying more. We all want our shipments faster, and there will be more opportunities for air cargo.
Right. It's often also cited by our government officials that we all in Hong Kong must not be complacent. Being into the GBA, we've got a greater market, but we also have more competitors, and we have to do our work better because we are not going to fight them with a lower cost, as we discussed earlier. Just like medical and dental services, we could be better. So what unique services or innovations Hong Kong has that you can see we have sort of a large sort of leading edge at the moment? Do we have anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. Hong Kong still has many leading edges when it comes to air cargo industry. I mentioned the regulatory framework earlier. I mentioned about our connectivity earlier. What's more is the commitment from the government, the world-class infrastructure which we have in Hong Kong, and of course, the people, which we have developed over many years and many generations of leaders, and these are actually accredited and are deemed as one of the most efficient crew members in the world.
Apart from our super terminal, as we mentioned earlier, are we doing any more capital investments, just making sure we are leading the rest?
I would say I'll answer this question in 2 perspectives. At Hactol, at Super Terminal 1, each year we're pumping in millions of dollars when it comes to millions of US dollars, that is, because we've got overseas viewers as well, onto the upgrading of facilities. Just this year alone, we opened, just in 2024 alone, we opened a cool chain complex. We opened a new terminal services center for export, among many others. But Hong Kong International Airport in general are also doing a lot. So apart from the Dongguan facilities I just mentioned, everyone is investing. DHL has just expanded the facilities. China has opened its very significant and massive complex. UPS has announced an expansion plans. The entire Hong Kong community is not being complacent, and we should not, and we will not.
Right. And then in the last part of the show, I want for you to explain to Hong Kong people how your industry is facing the challenges that the air cargo is. For example, we have a lot of disruption because of geopolitics and because of also the the pandemic that we had, also with rising cost of labor or shortage of labor in Hong Kong. So in general, how are you facing labor, rising costs, competitiveness, and also with geopolitics? I think I asked you everything in the general question.
This question can be a very, very long answer, but I'll try to be brief. Air cargo intrinsically deals with trade, and trade intrinsically deals and very closely associated with geopolitics. But there will always be geopolitical developments, okay? And one thing which the air cargo industry has shown consistently, and in the case of Hactl over the past 5 decades, is that we are very agile. Because there will always be changing, threats, but there will always be changing and emerging opportunities.
Right.
So one thing which we have to do as Hong Kong is to make sure that we have the right infrastructure, the right investments in place to capture the upcoming opportunities, which there are plenty. But of course, apart from the geopolitics, there will be, there is, as you said, the labor shortage. Hong Kong has a very low unemployment rate, and I think everyone knows that. So thanks to the government, we now have an import labor scheme.
So that helps.
That helps. And at the airport, at the aviation sector, we have 6,300 quotas. And many of the companies at the airport, including Hactl, has actually been applying for that. So we actually have import labor working in the super terminal now, and they are working well. We will ensure that we have adequate manpower and adequate infrastructure to cater for the upcoming needs. Because, why? On the 28th of November last year, the free runway system officially opened.
Right.
We now have free operational runways. That's a key milestone for Hong Kong. And with that, by 2035, the annual handling capacity for cargo would reach 10 million tons. Everyone, including Hactl, would therefore be committed and interested to invest and to make sure that we can handle this additional volume as they come through.
Well, Wilson, thank you very much. I think we have to wrap it up there. Thank you for taking us all this behind the scenes of the air cargo business. It is clear that the air cargo is not just a vital pillar of our economy, which it does boosting our trade, supporting our industries like e-commerce that Wilson has mentioned, and logistics, and reinforcing our position as a global gateway, but also a key driver of Hong Kong's connectivity and prosperity. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.
Thank you.